Hi everyone. Thank you so much for coming to this session. This is a very relevant topic that we're going to address in this panel discussion. So they say that panel discussions are the new black. So in this format, we are going to have a conversation about. So we are going to talk about HR brands today. We are going to speak about motivation and interaction with toxic employees. So what is an HR brand for you in 2020, let's say, because 2019 is almost over and I'm sure we're, well, way past being halfway through it. But I'm very interested to hear what you think HR brand is and what it's going to look like in 2020. Let me start. My name is Ekaterina Ogoltsova. I'm VP of Business Development at Belka Games. So we have been in development for a year. We have won an award of Headhunter as an IT HR award in the IT HR awards category. In 2020, what we're striving for is using, or rather creating, unique corporate environment that would be communicated by our employees to the outside world. And also inside of our company, we're planning to build the environment where our employees, where our staffers don't have to think about what they lack or how they feel or what knowledge they lack. We want to provide them with everything possible. We don't want them to leave because we know that the game development market is a high competition one. And, there is headhunting is happening all the time. So we want our people, our employees, to feel happy and to feel comfortable and not be looking at our other options. Okay, thank you so much. But besides the goals that you have planned for yourself for 2020, I also want to know about your toolbox, the one you rely on in the future. What tools are you going to use in 2020? Because I know there is a wide array of those. Okay, let me address this too. So we actually became an HR brand in late 2017. We built a separate brand. It's called 101 XPT. So this is a collaboration with another brand, with the platform brand. 101 XP is mostly focused on potential employees. We have launched a very high upscale project. We have reorganized the organization structure of the company. We have drove in more people. We wanted people to be initiators and to be proactive by themselves. So you know that in game industry, most of the employees are introverts. However, in our company, about 10–15% of employees come up with initiatives. They want to see something improved, and they speak up. Speaking of 2020, we are mostly focused on training our employees, on developing their expertise. This is the focus that we have right now. Well, awesome. Well, that's more about the inside effort. What about your outside efforts? Because remember, I asked you a question about how you actually split your HR efforts into inside efforts and outside efforts. And another question was about motivation. Because mostly HR products are, they're based on these three pillars. What we do actually is we want to make our employees happy. That's it. When we launched a YouTube project, some of you might have seen it, we try to cover how the gaming industry works, what challenges you can come across in this industry. And by the way, this YouTube project, it gained a lot of media coverage, just because the media outlets liked it. So we don't actually do any outward efforts because, well, it all comes from the inner initiative. It all comes because we're working for the good cause. And our employees, they spread the word about our company because we're actually a great company. And we employ fantastic employees. Some of them actually dyed their hair into the corporate colors of our company. Can you imagine that? Nikita, now to you. We also, in our company, we're based on these three pillars you spoke about. The inside efforts, the inward coming efforts, of course, this is important because your employees have to be advocates of your brand. You want to have your employees spreading the word about your company. You want them to be sure that they want to work in the company and bring friends to work in the same company too. So this is a lot of work. But at the same time, we also think about outgoing, outward efforts. We can rely, of course, on our employees to spread the word about the company. However, this is not enough. We try to be more vocal outside of the company. Well, because some employees, they're shy. They just don't want to spread the word about our company. They feel, it's inappropriate. This is why we do it for them, and we actually try to become more vocal, to become more visible on the marketplace and game development. So, started from September, we have started a promotion campaign. In our company, we have a number of interesting cases that are worth sharing with the industry, and this is how we're trying to promote ourselves. But besides that, of course, you still have to work a lot on the inside of the company. You need to build very nice, solid processes because this is the foundation of all our work. Besides that, we also, we visit conferences or some game industry events where we talk about ourselves. What about the 2020? How do you see yourself in 2020? What we do right now, we are promoting for our native content. We don't pay for promotion. We use our native integration, and most of them are focused on expertise sharing. We share our useful cases to the outside world that some other developers from other companies can actually use and build on. This is the information we're happy to share online. What you mean is media, right? Well, media, right, exactly. Social media too. And what we also do is to, try to use more channels, but I'm not willing to share those now. Well, come on, you're in a company of friends. Don't be shy to share secrets. Well, okay, fine, okay. Let me follow up. Hi, my name is Yuriy Krasilnikov. I represent Belka Games, VP of Business Development. And again, I will start from the history of our company. We started in 2017 as a company of 40 people. Today, we employ more than 200. Back in 2017, we realized that we were up to very, very speedy development and growth. This is why we decided to build solid inner development processes. And we also focused on brand development. I'm sorry, I'll chip in here. Do you mean HR brand or do you mean the company brand? I mean HR brand, yeah. So why I even started talking about the brand? Because we rebranded the entire thing. We kept the name, right, but all the identica, all the identity-related materials, they were all rethought and reimagined. And after that, we started working on our HR brand. We have very low turnover and very high employee retention rate. This is why our company kept growing. Besides rebranding, we have a couple of more fascinating cases. We managed to nail them and we plan to keep nailing them in 2020. For example, we partnered with UNICEF through our games. We launched multiple charity events together through our games that actually boosted employee loyalty. You may ask how. After the first in-game event, UNICEF's head of Belarus came to our head office in Minsk, and he actually reported back on how the budgets were spent, how the funding was spent, and the funding was incredible, you can imagine. And here we can understand that, these employees don't actually just develop games, they actually make a difference, and it boosted their loyalty. And this is a unique case for our region. Maybe some other companies did that too, but in Belarus this was unique. This way, our employees understand that developing video games must be of high quality. Because all of us here and all of us in our company, we all understand what international games look like and how high quality they are. And actually, when you become a partner of this important international organism such as UNICEF, your content has to be, cutting edge. It must be of the highest possible level. And when these people come back with feedback to you and they share real cases of how you helped people with your game, well, this is such a motivation booster. So this case happened in 2018. This year, we also had a similar activity. And the next event is scheduled to take place in 2020. I mean, again, in cooperation with UNICEF. Well, this is something very unusual that we did. Thank you so much. That sounds incredible. But correct me if I'm wrong. Did you include charity into your list of values? Well, you have to understand that we didn't force anyone to take part in these charity events. What I mean by this is that we didn't impose these ideas, right? We didn't say that it was a must. We only invited people who were interested in it. Before we even announced this event in the game, we actually talked with our guys first. So Clockmaker was the game that was the platform for this charity event. So we announced to our guys that we are going to have a cooperation with UNICEF. And gradually our employees came to an understanding that this was a wonderful idea. But they realized that charity was not, something that they had to do. This was something they wanted to do. This is why we only invited people who were genuinely interested in this. So we didn't force anyone. We believe that every person can make their own choice, whether they want to make a difference or not. But what we now see is that our development team actually made a difference. They worked for a great cause. Thank you. Any more comments here? Hi, my name is Galina Tokareva. I represent Stack by Appodeal. We provide solutions for development and optimization of mobile businesses. Our HR brand building, it actually happened from day one. And our HR brand, of course, represents the reputation of us as an employer. Speaking of our three pillars that you actually mentioned, I would like to say the following, that we in our HR team, we split our goals into multiple tasks. Some short-term tasks, longer-term tasks, and mid-term tasks. Building on that, we liaise with other departments and inside of our department. And based on that, we come up with an offering for both the inside and the outside of the company. About 18 months ago, we enjoyed a very nice case. We gathered our remote developers in Minsk, and we also brought together a team of 37 people. Throughout 3 months, we also invited more than 30 employees from other companies, and we challenged ourselves with the task of hiring people very, very fast. So we didn't have a systematic brand building. This is why we used multiple resources. We used media, we published articles, we spoke about our corporate culture, we launched videos online on social networks, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. We also supported events, some niche events. Niche events that are related to communities, which we were interested in. For us, it was Ruby, Go, and other communities. We picked ambassadors in each of these communities, and these ambassadors actually spread the word about the company. And these ambassadors said how good or how bad of an idea it was to move to Minsk. And we have a standard communication process with our employees. And we started experimenting with them. We targeted multiple developers and other companies that we wanted to employ. We posted things online, say videos or some media. So if we have a look at the statistics between the first and the third letter, we boosted the opening rate of the letter. So the letters were opened 30% higher. There was a higher chance of opening those letters. So to us, this is a great case of brand development. But again, there are a couple of things that we could have improved and we should improve, and the things that we have on our radar right now. And for next year, we are planning to systematize and optimize HR department. Because when we only started, we wanted to attract as many developers as we could, and this work was not systematic, it was very ad hoc. Then after recruiting, we tried to make adaptation of these guys a little bit more, smooth. So next year, we want to optimize the system.
Ilya. Hello, my name is Ilya Pschenichnyy. I work at Playkot. I'm a bit nervous because I'm I'm not used to such environments, and I've been in game making business for many years. I've been a programmer for the first 10 years, and I've been doing something else for another 10 years. And here we're talking about HR. So I'm going to give you another take on the issue. So I have a question to all of you, because we want to know you better. Who are you, guys? Please raise your hands who are in HR. Okay, I do not see anything and anyone to the left because the light is just going right to my eye. Art, game design, animator, 2, 3 persons, marketing. Wow. See how well clustered they are. Managers. Okay, second largest, I think, group. Now, at least we know who our audience is and who we work for. For everyone, Playkot is a team that is 157 people strong. We've been doing games for 10 years and quite successfully. And we're an indie game developer. We don't want to sell. We're not public. We don't really care about these things. So we are strictly game development. And our main goal is to create damn good games. And that is the first huge chunk of our market paradigm. We try to make as good games as possible. And when we plan the launch of a new game, we don't want to launch a game that cannot potentially become one of the top 10 highest performing games in the world, because we respect the people who work here. And, well, sky is the limit. Why should they settle for less? And so that's priority number one. It's more like a company, corporate brand or company brand. Sounds like a corporate brand to me. You know, why did I make this disclaimer about being a non-public company? Because at this stage, I don't believe that a company brand is very different from our HR brand. What matters most to us is our people. And that's the concept. So after we've spoken about this external part, now let's talk about the internal part. So a person comes to work to us, and he or she must stay with us. And here, what matters most is how we make our games. And we didn't really think about our HR brand specifically. We just were busy doing pretty good games. And we made such games that people really liked. Because sometimes these two things do not agree. So there's still lots of room for improvement, where our expertise can be used. So there are 3 metrics that we follow, that we consider important to understand that we are doing everything right. doing things right. First is what's our churn rate? How many people go away who we wouldn't like to go away? I mean, in our company. If we lose more than 2 people who we didn't want to lose, that is bad. This year we have only one, so it's okay. We can survive one. And how did you come to that? I'll tell you in a second. And the second is number of people who come on the recommendation. It's quite clear that there's a certain HR marketing mix. You know, because some people are coming just why not, and other people come on recommendation. And it's about 60%. And what's your year-on-year growth? About 25% per annum. So about 30 persons per year, 25 to 30 persons. And 40% of them come by recommendation, not 60, 40. And we think that 50% would be a good number to be guided by. And I wonder what my colleagues would say about this. And I'm sorry. So 20 to 20 is like using this metrics and using the referral system and bring it up to 50. No, it's our like HR team's goal to bring it up to 50, but it's not our HR brand. And you know what's also good? It's good when you don't have to sell something. Playrix is a good company, and Blizzard is a good company too. And every idiot in the world wants to work in Blizzard. And the second half of the idiots wants to work in Valve. No, it's not really like this. Blizzard, there are lots of people who do not want to work in Blizzard, and they do not want to take certain positions because of HR culture. And if we compare Blizzard with other IT companies and game dev companies, well, game dev right now it's only making its baby steps compared with other IT companies. So it's something to argue about. Well, I'd like to add something. I think everyone who is sitting here found themselves in a situation like you come from IT to game dev and people say, wow, I didn't know that you're doing so much for your people, and we don't have this in other IT large corporations. Well, if you compare good with bad, then yes. If we compare similar to something similar, it's usually such things are much better thought through in IT companies. Well, I'm talking about the internal part, not the external part, because it's not only about motivation and bonuses. It's about transparency. It's about goal setting. It's about feedback, which are feedback is a rare thing in game dev, and at the same time it's just the very basic foundation. Well, it depends on the company, and growing without feedback is impossible, at least to me. I cannot imagine it, because when a company is growing year on year, you can't do without feedback. And our tops also get feedback from sales in one-to-one meeting. It's such meetings shouldn't become the goal in itself, meetings for the meeting's sake, but it must be a tool. Well, in our case, the situation is not that bleak, and sometimes culture can be quite well developed in a company, but we're talking about any game development in general, not just mobile game dev. And have a look at the recent scandals. There were lots of scandals. Well, You have to be honest with your people. You have to be transparent. What we don't have to start working is when everything is good in your company. We reviewed the entire organization structure, the positions we had in our company, and we also have about 40% of referrals. So people come by recommendation. Second is headhunters, second largest group, headhunted, and 30% juniors used to take 30% of all newcomers before, but now about 50%, so it's 50-50. So 50% are seniors and top managers. And when everything is well in a company, the guys are ready and willing to spread the word about it to the outer world. It's not in our company, it's not the HRs who come to the guys and tell them what they need to tell and say. It's the guys themselves who come up to us and say, can we tell this and that to someone outside? Because, well, we are spending much efforts into internal process alignment, and it led to very good results. Again, it was done very quickly. It shows that our HR is working well inside, and our processes are well organized and streamlined. Well, HRs are underappreciated, but they are the most valuable people. Well, after all those who make games, actually. Well, HRs cannot be underestimated because they find those who make games and they adapt them, allowing them to make games. Well, there are HRs and recruiters, but we're talking about HRs. And in different companies, again, HRs are perceived differently. And it would be good if anyone would share their experience. And if you, the fact that you focus on new games, that you are trying to make new good games, that this is a company mission and company's brand's foundation. That is good. And what about your mission? Well, everything is fine with our mission. We are growing, and I mean, is it formalized and is it used efficiently? Because Playkot is making good games, and that is important. But there are other companies who are making even better games. It's on our website. We are entering a new level. We are striving for better games and better working environment. I'm sorry. It's like peace in the world. It's a bit too general. Well, this is our main mission that we are striving for. We used to be a publisher of Chinese games, but now we're spending much efforts and resources, again, we're an independent company, into developing the games that we want to market. But why do you need marketing? Why do you need this mission as a tool and these values? These values, you're in an independent company and you must retain your employees. And what else do you do? Well, speaking about the mission, we are pro-quality products. Unlike other publishers, we don't just take new projects. We have an expert review procedure in place that allows us to estimate the products. We are pro-personal development. We are pro-corporate development. So that people working on various projects must realize that they must work better. And we are investing into personal development. But values is about something else. Values is about what is currently there. Each company has its own value set, but each company does have it. What do you think? Well, I think that culture is not on just a retention tool. It's a culture is something that helps you to find the right people. We are going to have a new website soon, and we will also have this information published there. As far as the tool set is concerned, that must be something that unites your people, something that brings you together. But this is, this is still a tool. Let us move away from the ephemeral, intangible concepts. But we're talking business. We are talking company management, and for us, it is a tool. Well, there is business and there is business, and different businesses make different money. And if we take Google's example, for instance, they have their own story. It doesn't. They have. They're big, but they have a good culture. Well, I don't argue that what this is about. What I'm arguing is whether this is a tool or not. No, mission is not a tool. Mission is a common goal, something that brings people together. Why isn't that a tool? Because tool is something else. A tool is something that can be used in different contexts. Well, it can be used to bring people together, like-minded people, and to retain them in the company. This is the general goal, but how we achieve this goal, this is a tool. And these are like sub-values. We don't have a dress code. We are open to anyone who wants to stand out. We respect any political views, any religious views, any personal values, etc. How do you use your culture as a tool? How do you use your internal corporate culture as a tool?
That's a necessary business tool. Do you want an example? Do you want a case? Yeah, please, because you were asking how you can actually use corporate culture for businesses. How do you use your mission as a retention tool? Can you give me a case? Would you give me an example? Well, in the first place, I didn't say that we use our mission as a tool. Okay, at least as of yet. Well then, okay, that's clear, fine. Nikita, here's an example for you about the mission and the culture, right? Well, we have to differentiate between the culture, values, and yeah, so what exactly do you mean? I think that based on the values, you actually bring together the company culture. We have a couple of cases I would like to share. So at first, we decided that we all together, using our employees, were going to draft the list of values. Maybe a couple of guys will come up, maybe they will share their ideas, everyone would agree to them, sign them, and that's it. Of course, this wasn't the case. We're now in the process of changing our values, and this process looks way more complicated than just showing up. And of course, you cannot impose values on your employees, because this has to be a grassroots initiative coming from your employees, not the other way around, at least in our company. So you may ask why. It's because we use our values and our culture as a tool. First of all, we screen candidates based on their competencies, because we have a whole guideline, a whole list of competencies that we check the new candidates against. Yes, I see this is a relevant example. I agree as well. Company culture, your corporate culture, has to be coming from the grassroots. However, one of our cultural pillars is the following one. It may sound banal, but it sounds like improve yourself every day. But it has a fun history behind it, by the way. Some time ago, a couple of years ago, our company had another project. It was later closed. This project had a banner which said "Best Game in the Industry," while in the clockmaker room where the developers were developing their game, the banner said "Make yourself better or improve yourself every day." And you can see the first project actually was closed, and the second one, Clockmaker, became a success, and it is still developing. So we decided to borrow this value and make it a corporate value. But I couldn't agree more. Yes, I think that values and corporate culture, they both are an instrument for forming teams, for enforcing teams. And we've had a couple of cases when candidates were not approved of because they didn't just fit into our cultural landscape. Well, sorry, that's the reality. By the way, speaking of corporate culture, we did a different story. We just decided to poll our employees on 3 different levels: all the team, leads, and the top managers of the company. After that, we drafted the key goals of each of these teams, of each of the groups of people. And then we decided that our company is very result-driven, which became value number 1 for us. For teams themselves, the result was important only in the link with education and training. Leads mostly cared about their employees, and for top managers, the best value, of course, was efficiency. However, they all agreed that the result-driven approach is the main one. We also polled them for values, and we realized that the values are were actually also similar. Right now, our employees mostly are focused on the efforts that are outward bound, and we ourselves, of course, work with inward bound efforts in our HR department. Of course, this is not a silver bullet everyone could use, but it does work in our company. But again, what I'm saying is that when people feel good in the company they work in, then they spread the word, and then they're going to promote the company from the outside. Here's a question from me. How much time did it take you? You mean the polling? Yes, the polling. In our polling process, by the way, here is on the side, so we have a corporate university and all of our employees are in for training. So one of the top managers said that we want to use our working groups and to use our project groups to assess the following thing. So here was his offering. He said he had his own methodology, he wanted to use this methodology, and he wanted to assess the progress of the company. This was an anonymous poll, which made people more comfortable with answering questions. And we sent out letters for multiple employees. I'm sorry for being super scrupulous here, but still, how long did it take you? Around a month. Now I get it. Thank you. Okay, here's a follow-up. What was the result? What results did you circulate around your employees? Well, we poll people all the time. Employee loyalty or engagement polls. We do them at least every 6 months. So is this what you call engagement polls, right? Yeah, exactly. We call them both engagement and loyalty polls. We use G12 methodology, and we have rethought it, and we have implemented it in our company. What we try to communicate to our guys is that their feedback matters. We always give them an opportunity to speak up. They can let us know of anything that bothers them, any concerns, any questions or comments, any feedback. This is the feedback we'll later collect and we build on. And our guys can actually see the positive changes are happening that are built on their feedback. Well, for example, their feedback may be as simple as, well, we could do with a new fridge in the kitchen, by the way. And once they see the fridge, they're happy and they know that they're heard of. Or another case could be, for example, a person may be complaining that their career ladder looks too challenging for them, for example, or that their job, their work is not acknowledged. So, well, we work with this feedback. We also have a corporate university, as I said. About 25% of our employees go through this university and they have some sort of promotion. And by the way, because this poll is anonymous, some of the guys actually prefer to mention their names, especially when they're speaking about their personal concerns. And this is just a couple of employees. This is a small share of them. For example, in the last polling that we did, about 3 employees maybe, only just 3 of them mentioned their names. The rest of them prefer anonymous polling. What about your feedback? How do you collect feedback and how do you work with it? How you engage in it? Okay, ladies first. Yeah, by the way, we have a black box, the so-called black box, where our employees can submit their complaints or submit their offerings. And we also run regular sessions where we bring together specialists of multiple levels. And they actually discuss some of their concerns. Sometimes we may build them around Google Forms where people also can can give their feedback. In our company, anonymous polling didn't work. We decided to take a serious approach. We made a huge list of questions. We brought up multiple questions. We wanted to make it as detailed as possible. And because we took a serious approach, guys were too surprised. And they were like, oh my God, 72 questions. I'm not going to take part in this. This is too much. I'm sorry. But later we realized that our guys were not ready for such serious polls. Instead, we decided to collect feedback on a more personal level. We worked with resource managers. We worked with team leads, the people who optimize this feedback for us. We used multiple tools for that. First of all, the teams have chats on different managers. We use those. Telegram, Slack, be it any messenger. We try to collect feedback from there. So every month we run meetings with HRs and with managers. We have one-on-one feedback meetings and so on and so forth. And what happens is that they bring up any concerns that they can have. Because feedback, of course, is super valuable. But this has to happen at a very specific, with a very specific frequency, for example, because some employees, especially senior employees, they sometimes don't need too often feedback, then once a month could be enough. This is why we try to take a personalized approach to all our employees. Well, feedback leaves much to be desired in our company. This is why sometimes when we meet with managers, we also involve HRs so that HRs can also have feedback on how to give feedback. Sorry for this tautology, but still. Wow, this looks great. This sounds awesome. Well, I have a remark here. I think we should all understand that there is, again, no silver bullet. We always need to look at the context, at the environment, because some must-have practices for large corporations may not be that great for smaller startups, and vice versa. So I think that you should be very thoughtful. You should think twice before incorporating some practices and think whether it's going to be useful for your company. Because some of the advice we just heard was amazing, but I don't think it is going to work equally great in all companies. Some of the things my colleagues just brought up, I think they're universal. They can definitely work no matter what the company size is. Well, speaking of culture, for example, you have to be realistic. You should understand that if you don't contribute your effort into corporate culture, it is not going to build itself. It's not going to happen itself. It will require your effort, your time, and your work. Oh, by the way, lack of corporate culture is corporate culture. Well, by the way, I've heard a lot about your company and your corporate culture. I know it leaves much to be desired, so please, let's be realistic. Well, if you've heard of us, then it's already good. Then it means we're working great. Well, that's my point. Corporate culture is something we all have to work on. Where does it come from? What is corporate culture? I don't think that it actually is a grassroots initiative. I think this is something that goes from the top to the bottom, not vice versa. For example, there is a founder or two founders of the company, and I think these guys are the ones that breed corporate culture. So you think it goes from the top to the bottom, right? Yes, that's what I mean. But of course, the larger the company is, the more mixed this corporate culture is going to be, because so many people are going to contribute to it. But if the company is only starting, I think the owners of it are going to be the ones that contribute most to corporate culture. And I think the more people come, the more mixed this company culture is going to be, and the more mixed it becomes, the harder it is to actually somehow single out some factual values. And I think this is where trouble comes in. Well, Well, in fact, I think this is a growth problem here, a typical one, because if you have 200, 300 employees, and if your CEO is engaged into forming corporate culture, then I think you're in trouble, both your CEO and your corporate culture itself. What do you then think should the company founder or the CEO should be engaged in, not corporate culture? No. Well, in the first place, they're all different people. Well, in a company, this is one and the same person. I see, yes, but it depends, of course. But let's say there is a CEO of a company that employs 300 people. What does the CEO do? What is their main focus? What do you think?
Основной фокус SEO-основателя — это стратегия дальнейшего развития.
What I think is that it all depends on a particular case. It all depends on a company, and it all depends on the particular company because some of them have investors, some don't. The company where investors are involved in, that the CEO has to work with them. Also remember that some companies have boards of directors, and boards of directors have to work with investors as well. So the organization structure can be so different, and on this depend the duties and the capacities of the CEO. Well, why didn't even we come up with this discussion in the framework of our HR discussion? So just imagine, you have a company of 10 people, you employ more and more of them. Say you have 100 people now, and you have a whole strata of people who work with other people in this company. You keep growing and growing and growing, and these stratas become multiplied, and you have multiple level of employees. And what you can actually do with these employees is to try and share your values with them. So this is why I think it should be coming from the top. Because if the top of the company, the top managers, execs of the company actually draft these values, then you can share them with the rest of employees. This is, I think, one of the key tasks that top managers should be challenged with. This is about corporate culture. Well, this is at least what is happening in our company.
Well, this is a pipe dream of sorts, because many other companies are also using HRs as certain catalysts to spread this culture within the company. I'd like to add something. You have to hire the right people who have the right spirit, like-minded people. And when we did our corporate culture, corporate environment poll, we didn't want to tell anything to them. We wanted to ask them what they think. And corporate culture isn't something that you tell them to have. It's something that they create, and it changes all the time. It becomes more diverse and more nuanced. When we polled this, people told us, I want to do this, I want to do that. Do you feel that you are growing? Do you feel that you are developing? Do you feel that you are missing something? And after the poll, we had initiative groups that came up when guys from different teams now do something together, like work out or do yoga, and people from different departments go and do yoga together, and they talk to each other, and then they added new people to their groups. And this all started because we wanted to publish an article somewhere about us, and now this is the whole story. So these guys sat together and thought about a present to our SEO. And we invented a small mobile game, and our SEOs enjoyed it so much so that we set up a small development studio 6 months later. Yes, I'd like to share a certain insight with you about this. That's a rather strong one, a rather powerful one. What's most important that helps us to bring new people and retain them? We don't hire juniors. We have a strong management team, and so There are several components to this success. So one is cool games, that we are doing really good games. Second is passion. Who do you want to work with? Do you want to work with passionate people? Respect, that is very important. Respect to people, to what they do, and all this combined equals to independence. What is independence in our case? It means that you have a right to make a mistake. You have a right to screw up, and nobody is going to punish you for that. And because it helps you to be free. When I came to Playkot, I already came for a top position, and I was really scared that I'm gonna screw up and people would think about me. And I wrote something once, and I don't remember what, not about work, somewhere on social media, and people started to react to what I wrote, like sharing their ideas, because we had this right to make a mistake, a right for a mistake. People are not afraid to make mistakes, and this contributes to a very cool corporate culture. And the same independence, talking about products, is demonstrated by the fact that we are growing our products or making our products from top to bottom, from grassroots. And so we grow our ideas from the grassroots level. And the same goes everywhere. If somebody wants to play football, he or she goes and plays football. If somebody wants to read a lecture, deliver a lecture to the team, we give them this opportunity. Like, I want to read a lecture, and other people write in the corporate chat, like, come on, do this, you're good. And we also have cases, such sessions when guys tell about their mistakes to other people, telling them what not to do to avoid the same mistakes. So it's basically about formalizing the values that you have in place. Well, and hopefully that HRs in other companies will take stock. It's about building also your brand around your products. You see, there are two things. There is a product, and there is the way you make this product. If you come and you work at Playkot, you want to be a part of the team that makes great games. And then something bad happens. And this is where the second part comes into play. This is about friendliness, independence, and openness. There were lots of questions about cognitive dissonance, what is called a cognitive dissonance during the hiring procedure. I think you will all agree that what Katya said about the company must correspond to reality. Of course, people who come to for a job interview, we tell about all the possible tricks that may come up during the work, so that there would be no surprises for a person when he or she starts working in our company. How do you find these discrepancies? How do you troubleshoot them? Well, we don't have the initial HR interview with HR manager. We already, at the initial stage, we have an interview with a team of people from different departments. And who is in this team? Different positions, like PM, project managers, right? New PM. Well, different companies have different names for different positions. If it usually a PM, HR manager, and department leader. There may be producers from different areas. How long does it take And how much interviews do you carry out? 2 interviews, with the exception of for testing. If there is no pre-screening, well, there is a pre-screening. We have this pre-screening, but again, it's done in a group, and then the interview is also done together by a group. And there is also teams can be different. Team composition can be different.
Как вы принимаете решение о найме? Вот, допустим, у вас собралась группа из 5 человек.
If you have a team, say 5 people strong, and 4 people say yes, we hire this one, and the fifth one says no. Well, you have to agree beforehand who is the ultimate decision maker. And who has the final say? The final say, department head, department lead, has the final say. He says, yes, I am for, and 4 people say no. Well, we know how to meet each other halfway. We know how to find a compromise. We have a rather flexible decision-making system. So there aren't any problematic situations. When there were, but if a candidate is promising, then we find a place. But if you cannot agree, like 4 people who will have to work with this guy, and one is... Well, we didn't have such situations. Well, we did. And we had a situation when the team didn't want to hire this guy, but the manager, the top manager, insisted, because he said, this is a cool guy, it will be great to work with him. And in 9 months, this guy quit by himself, because, well, it didn't work out. He wasn't a team player. Well, it's only logical. I don't believe in pink glasses. If 4 people say no, and the manager says yes, that means that the manager probably doesn't know something. Because if 4 persons say it will be hard to work with this guy, it means something. Well, I don't remember that we had such things in the past. It's either everybody likes a person or nobody likes this person. In the past White Knights conference, there was Roman Zonin, our producer, and he spoke about team building, and I recommend you to find this video on YouTube and watch it. Because in summary, what he said was like this: 3 things. A person must be a professional. So in our team, in our company, first interview is with lead programmer. If a person has problems with hard skills, then it's a no. Then next interview with a producer. If the producer feels that something is amiss, then again it's a no. And the producer works with the HR manager together to see if there is a possibility for this person. If somebody gives a red flag, then it's a definite no. How long does it take to find a person on average? It's 70 days. It's the median. It's not average, it's a median. Our median value is 70 days. And again, we don't hire juniors at all. Mid-level manager, almost never, sometimes top. We have some challenging positions that remain open for 6 months, and we realize that it's hard to find the right person, but we are not ready to compromise and this position and settle for someone who is less suited for this job. Well, we have our HRs who can consult. How long does it take in your company, this hiring process? Thank you, Nikita. Sorry, Vera. Yes, I'm Playgendary HR director. The median value is, for top positions, is about 60 days. Senior plus, 3 to 4 weeks. Again, we have a rather large and strong team, hiring team. So we are actively searching. Well, it takes longer in our case because we have only one recruiter, so it takes longer. And in case of juniors, it's 14 to 30, mid 30 to 60, senior 60 to 90. And top positions, it's like this. If we cannot find someone for in 4 to 6 months, we think about using some of our own, because we can grow someone from our own team, because while we're looking for someone is doing this job within the company. So there's always a possibility to nurture and train. But your results are quite impressive. Anton? No, it's Yura. It's more or less the same. I'd say 50 days. Well, that's a creative approach. It's different in our case because we have lots of jobs. Our job openings are closed using our own people. Mid is about 4 weeks. The median value is 4 to 6 values for more complicated, for more challenging job positions. It's longer. Sometimes we had to retrain our own people to close a certain vacancies. We are not currently looking for a Java developer, and we cannot find a Java developer. There is no good developer here, I'm sure. Marketeers, yes. Developers, no. No, we couldn't find a proper Java developer. Look in Minsk, because there are lots of them there. Well, we are in the greenest Moscow district, Strogino. It's very interesting to find a Java developer in Strogino. I used to live there. It's a wonderful district. We have an open space. We have cool premises. We have jogging possibilities. Well, hopefully a Java developer will watch this stream online and reach out to you. Let me tell you, there is no strict rule. Nothing is set in stone. How do you give feedback and how do you organize? Well, first is 3 months period of adaptation, and you have to provide feedback. In our case, it's on a bi-weekly basis. Then we provide feedback on a monthly basis during a one-by-one meeting with the manager and managing team, and this is the lowest limit. If a person's ambitions are different, then it may be more or less depending on them. So I call upon everyone to not to do this not to provide feedback for the feedback's sake. It has to be constructive.
On the average, it's also once a month for us, but then there's an HR team interacts with the managers, and they make decisions about the regularity. If it's about senior managers, then maybe once a week is not is a little too often, so don't overdo it. Track your culture, but I think you should never have feedback less frequently than once per quarter. So this will fire back at you. So okay, once we're walking back to the previous topic, I could add as well. We had a case or a format rather, that we were in creation of for about half a year. Every week, 2 weeks, bringing pizza, whatever. So we've came up with a demo day, which is once a month, and we rent actually a new space for it, a cafe or a bar, and there it's a two-part thing. One is semi-official, and project leads do a small presentation about how far they progressed within a month, and this really helps to structure things and tab things up. People learn from others doing other projects because sometimes it's a mystery. In your everyday job, sometimes you have no idea what your colleagues are doing. And you can learn perhaps a couple of new features. And then these demo days, this is where we discuss that. We discuss metrics for the previous months and so on. And this informs us of what worked and what didn't. And there's this one informal part which also has a co-founder present and CEO present, and they are available for everyone for an informal discussion. Awards for 3 or 5 years with the company is something that everybody enjoys. We're running out of time, so let's have another exciting question. Yeah. I have a couple of questions actually on the agenda. One's about failures in your HR. Galina has already. Oh, we have many. And we have another question from Yulia, as far as I know. And we also want to take questions from the audience, right? And then we have HR awards. So shall we share? Shall we share our failures? Yes. Let me confess. When we were hiring a lot of people a year and a half ago, and our main fail was, that we were saying that we moved 37 developers from Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus. Elsewhere, we hired about 14 new developers, and we put them all in one office, and then we went on hiring elsewhere, and the developers were left to without any curatorship, so to say. And we have 2 people for like 70 people, but I think it's not enough. But I think 30 per person would be better than 70. So when we were hiring these guys, and when we were bringing 10 to 13 new people at once, we would promise them heaven, like we're so cool, and come in, it's going to be so much fun. And in a month or 3 months, guys got disappointed because the teams that used to work remotely, they didn't have the processes organized properly. We didn't know what kind of task managers we would use, and we hired them to set these things up together, but we didn't share that. So we just told them how great we were, and we never shared the problems. So we ended up with the problem of fast growth, and therefore we had to ask people to leave, or people just left. And although we grew by 50% first, and then we had to shrink by 50% because of these assumptions and expectations that we didn't share between the HR and the team members. That was a big fail. I think we were too brassy when we, like year and a half ago, thought that we could just recruit locally and do some relocations. But it ended up that Minsk is a great place for work and life, but the harsh reality was that key professionals were not ready to move to Minsk mainly for family reasons. And we had to rearrange things, and you know the joke when the plane is flying and you have to reschedule your processes. Yeah, we had to do that in flight, and now analysts, so we have 60% of them working remotely. I don't remember the bad stories. I just forget them. I don't have enough time actually. From your previous company, maybe? Well, when we were trying to collect feedback and we didn't come up with anything better than one-on-one, we tried questionnaires, 360 so-called questionnaires. You really had a lot of gray hair coming up, myself as well. That was useful, but the best seems to be meeting a quarter of. Yeah, but you were just testing. Well, there was a fail because we thought we will just do a questionnaire and that will fix things. No, you have to really build on that. I think this moment is both a positive and a negative experience. We weren't very active in building our HR brand. But although I was told that we had a positive HR brand, so that was a win, but loss there was no loss. But come join our HR team, and since we are fail friendly, then you can come, fail, and we'll be okay. So we open to new fails. Julia, any questions? It's a very interesting discussion. It doesn't seem to end, but I do have to interrupt you. We promised to publish the results of the questionnaire that we launched on App to Top, and it was hosted by Talents in Games. So a couple of slides from me. So the question was how important education is. So 40% of people work under a year, and this is the distribution that you can see. Whether you would like to get additional training, yes, 70%. Are you interested in new practice? 85% interested in the novelties. Are you compensated for additional training? As you see, 50% say no. Oh, is it no? Fully? No, yes, no. Half of the companies don't compensate, and partially to 40%. So there's a question to you. You part of the HR brand as well, I believe, and do you have any programs to support your employees in their training progress, and how important is it? The simplest answer, of course, is we're so happy when somebody wants to get training. Do they? Well, look, our policy is that we don't push them. Don't go and learn Java. If somebody wants to, then we will pay for that, whatever that is. We didn't have anything completely, out of the blue, but there's a small hint. We sometimes want to pay them for 10%. Then it's a better motivation. If it's a 100,000 ruble course, then they pay 10,000 rubles in order to better motivate them. This is like a mental anchor for them, but at the same time it's comfortable because they don't pay that much. So they won't just ignore the training. So we pay for any training. We're very happy if they do. But do you have many volunteers? Yeah, we have some. So, yeah, I think we have the same. About 95% of them want to train. Or sometimes if they want to attend a conference, if they want a training, yeah, we just give it to them. Yuriy, we have a number of cases where a couple of people started to to do a training, and then like 40% of the 40 people follow them. So there was this craze once that we had, and we compensate. We also want to share the cost until they complete the course. So if they complete the course, we return their bit. So we keep them motivated to finish. Because I'm sure you've seen many occasions where the company pays for the training, and like, I don't know, the English lessons, you pay, you cover that, and since there's no internal motivation, only half of the employees attend. So this is how you can motivate them. And I think almost everyone wants to learn and get extra training, and many people have specific ideas that I want to do this or that, but we want them to explain why do they need that, because it's not always obvious. Like, you're so cool, why do you need any extra training? But if they have that, we have it super well. We have a corporate university, and we have several tracks there. There's a Q&A with more senior employees, offline and online group training. We brought trainers for store optimization who taught marketing. We brought testing trainers. We have an annual budget which allows us to have our employees attend conferences and trainings. I went to Portugal in May, for instance, spent 4 days there. That was wonderful. It was about HR branding, actually. So we also now have a soft skills project, because this is what's lacking. We are now testing this course, and there's a mentoring course which is also available. But I'll join Belka in. There's a discussion of infrastructure. They have to fill in a form and tell why do they want to do it, what is gonna add to their capacities, and then we evaluate that. And most of the applications actually get approved. So we totally pro education. We also have partial compensation, and we use common sense, really. If a 3D artist is unlikely to benefit from a senior programming course, then they will have to explain why they want to do that. But and we compensate in full. Yeah, but you have to get your Java program, I remember. We also need game designers. We give them extra for training. Okay. Anybody else wants to advertise? I can also share the figures with you. We spent $55,000 for training last year, and this year it's going to be roughly similar. And that means about $500 per year per employee. But I think that is an important part of our budget. We used to approach this on a case-by-case scenario, and now we created a new system to handle that. We have grades and profiles, so we graded everyone. We gave an individual growth plan to everyone. So there are training tracks, there's an educational system, how far you can request for a specific level. And if you ask extra, then you have to ask your manager, then you have to do a motivation letter and so on. We haven't yet introduced the system of partial compensation. I think it's a good motivation, but we also give everybody free English lessons. This is like a basic for us.
Сказала, у нас еще есть время.
Do we have time? No, we actually are running out of time. We have time for just one question from the audience. Hello, my name is Sergey. I'm not an HR person. Thank you for this discussion about the fails. That was an interesting part. So, HR brand serves to increase investment opportunities of the company, but how do you deal with reputational damages should they occur? Do you understand my question? Could you elaborate, please? What do you mean by reputational damages? Because this may mean different things. That's why I asked. Reputational damages are like this. There are such websites as LinkedIn, Glassdoor, or during personal one-to-one conversations. There may be rumors spread by employees of different level about the company. And the company at the same time has an HR brand, and there is sometimes one negative feedback is enough to scare away many potential candidates. Well, many said that HR is working with marketing together. Our HR department works closely with community management and content departments, and we have something to learn from them. When I started working there were some negative reviews, negative comments, and we decided not to fight them. We will post more positive things, and we will broadcast positive things about our company more. And this is the direction we're heading at. And if somebody quits his or her job, we try to still be friends with them. I love everyone who I used to work with, and I hope that everyone who used to work in our company still loves the company. Well, hopefully, fingers crossed. So more chances to broadcast the success, because the negativity will always be there. This may be a disgruntled employee, someone who didn't like something. We try to avoid such situations, of course, and try to focus on positive things. Well, that's a good practice, actually. And if you have a negative feedback that destroys your company brand, that means that your company HR brand is weak. There will always be negative feedback, but it's okay. When a person quits, he or she may point out some sore spots in the company, weak spots, and what's most important is how you mitigate these risks, how you deal with these weak areas, and you need to show that you are working on your weak areas. You admit that you have something to work on, and you do work on. Well, there has to be this cognitive dissonance that we talked about when a person comes to work, and dissonance with what he or she had before starting working there. Even if a person doesn't fit your company, doesn't fit the team, you still have to minimize the risks, and you still have to respect the person. You still have to explain why you said no to someone, and you have to provide feedback, even if it's a negative feedback. And everything has to be done right. All those practices that we were talking about. When a person quits, again, you have to make it comfortable, because it's a stressful situation for both parties. And one of the good practices that we use is the so-called exit interview. When anyone quits, our HR manager has a sit-down with this person and talks with this person. Why they are quitting, what were the reasons, what's the attitude, to the company, what are the positive things about the company. So it's a good thing to have a helicopter look at the company, and again, it's an opportunity for the person to vent off all the negativity that they might have and to be calmer. So, starting from the initial job interview and ending with this exit interview, you have to work with everyone. You don't mustn't let anyone go just without any reasons. And I agree that there will always be negative comments and feedback, and you don't need to work on each negative feedback in particular. But there may be some negative feedback which may be well substantiated when a person really explains what they didn't like. These are unique cases. In my experience working at Belka, there was just one case when a person wrote on Facebook what he didn't like, and we realized that we did a follow-up, and we realized that there was just a miscommunication. And this person updated his Facebook posts afterwards because, well, he also realized that we are not a perfect machine. Sometimes glitches happen. Sometimes people misunderstand each other. And these things can be worked on. These things can be improved. You know, you probably read such comments like, they used my technical assignment as the feature of their own. But come on, that's just ridiculous, and you can just ignore it. But if it's well substantiated, you can work with this. I generally agree, and our content managers taught us to do so. You have to make it personal. I mean, you have to respond personally without expanding this thread of comments under the initial post. Yes, it's true. You have to send PMs, and hopefully we will have very few of such negativity. We are trying to make it a procedure. We respond to the posts on Facebook, on other social media. Again, we see if it's constructive or not, because there are some situations that are out of my control, and that are out of HR's control, when some former employees are discussing the company's disadvantages, and I cannot do anything about it. And so you have to work with complaints.
Спасибо большое за классный вопрос. Ребят, спасибо вам огромное за такой откровенный.
Well, you have to respond to the negativity. Thank you for this.